What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast, and we've got one heck of an episode for you. We've been talking a lot about some largemouth, and today we're going to be talking about some smallmouth. And we've got nobody better to talk about some smallmouths than Bailey Eigbrett. I think I said that correctly.
Nailed it, man.
So, uh, so guys, if you don't know, he is from the Serious Angler podcast, and if you have not seen or heard of it, shame on you. It is one heck of a podcast. He has some guests on there that are phenomenal, and I seen one here not too long ago that he actually had a biologist that came on, and it was a phenomenal episode, and which was funny, which we'll get into that here in a little bit. But guys, if you don't know, I am Colin Burnett.
Pappy J.
And this right here is Bailey from Serious Angler Podcast. What's up, brother?
Good, man. Appreciate you boys having me on here.
Anytime, brother, anytime. I know we ran into each other, and it was kind of a weird situation of how we ran into each other because I was doing a little bank fishing, and because I did not want to get the boat out, and I think it was like 27, 28 degrees. It was below 30 degrees.
Shoot.
And I seen Caleb Bell, and I went over there to him, and he happened to have Bailey and our other good buddy Alex Rudd with them, and so that was way back in the wintertime, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was like early mid-January. I was on my trek home from Florida, and so obviously I had to stop and see the boys. And we're like, well, obviously we got to go fishing, but our only day to go fish, it was like launch at 8 a.m. was 10 degrees, and so we just said, hey, when it looks crappy like that, what are you going to do? Just you might as well.
And that was I was surprised. I mean, not really with Caleb. Caleb goes out there, and I was surprised, one, that he was not wearing Chacos. If he wears some sandals that pretty much all year round, but I was kind of surprised that it was nice to be able to finally meet you. I've watched your YouTube channels, I've watched the podcast, and then to have you and Alex there, it was great to see both of y'all.
Yeah, dude, it was great to meet you in person before we even kind of got in touch, and obviously Alex helped introduce. But yeah, it was that was a rowdy morning. You knew if it's cold when Caleb's actually got shoes on. That was dude, he's a whole other level of psycho in a good way, because Alex and I show up at the ramp at sunrise, and he had already been out for like 2 hours getting bait, so he was even colder than we were with no sun. But it's always, even though the fishing might suck, it's always fun when you're fishing with your boys. It's always a good time on the water.
Yeah. And I mean, and you had two of the guys, and I tell people all the time that Caleb and Alex are like fish whisperers. I don't know what they do. They can go anywhere and they can catch some bass. And if they have a day to where it just sucks, it's a rough day on the water, because them two guys can catch some fish.
Yeah, that's for dang sure. Alex, he stinks. He's okay. It's bad when you bring him up north and he struggles to catch bass. But no, I'm just kidding. He's bad luck. What I determine Alex is. But Caleb is, like, Alex and I have talked about this so many times. Caleb is on a whole other level. Like, if you told me he had fins, I probably wouldn't be that surprised.
No.
That dude might as well have a set of gills, because he seems to just click pretty well with about any species that exists. So
yeah, and that's it. And the thing is, it's not that he goes out there and he catches some monster fish, and it's, if he sends me a picture a couple times a week of him having an 8+ on the boat, it doesn't surprise me. And if it's just a couple times, I'm asking him what's wrong. So So how did since we're talking about Caleb and Alex, I know when I talked to you last, Alex was actually up there with you, correct?
Yeah, he 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago he came up for a week and kind of showed him around because New York this time of year is just pretty silly. About every lake right now, you're going to catch a bunch of fish. You're going to catch big ones. Our fish are naturally pretty dumb throughout the year, but this time of year they're dumber than normal. And I've always talked about it. He's never experienced it, so we just decided, hey, let's send it. And he came up here and showed him a little glimpse at just how dumb he can be in New York.
Yeah, because usually I'll see when he goes up north and he goes and hangs out with a fella named Benjamin Nowak. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, it's not like they have big fish in Michigan.
Yeah, so, Ben he's the smallmouth guru, man. What I know is from Ben.
Right, and the thing is watching his videos is where I kind of learned really kind of how to hone in on my forward facing sonar, and just because I mean he's a phenomenal. I mean he's a wizard at it.
No doubt.
So, was speaking of smallmouth, what is it like? I mean, you fish down here in the Chattanooga area, and you fish down in Florida and stuff like that. What is New York for the guys that are and gals that are south away from New York? What is fishing in New York like?
In smallmouth in specific?
Yeah, we'll go smallmouth specific.
Honestly, I think there's nothing really similar. I would just say, like, if you've never gone north, there's not a lot that compares to like trying to catch smallmouth down tail races, things like that. It's kind of hard to, I guess, to compare the two. Really, I mean, you have two different styles of smallmouth fishing. I almost think of them as completely different up here in New York because you got all of our Finger Lakes, which are inland glacial lakes that are essentially just long fingers they're just bowls with some grass when they're not being sprayed, essentially. But those smallmouth are very different from the Great Lakes smallmouth,
right.
At least in my personal opinion. But a lot of it is very clear water. These fish are very active. They're especially right now this time of year. They're very fat. They're big bowling balls because they got gobies. They got little chicken nuggets running all over the bottom of the lake that they can just splurge on. So they're typically right now they're about as wide as they are long, and they're fun because they're just ready to eat. And so it's, I guess a great way to describe it is Great Lake smallmouth specifically. You got a lot of clear water. If you're willing to brave, the bigger water, it's a hell of a time because you're catching these fish, say in 20, 30 foot of water, and you're seeing them halfway down. It's right. It's kind of like an aquarium, if you will, especially when they move up shallow. It's pretty remarkable, especially when you get those days that are low wind, sun. But the Finger Lakes is it's some of the, at least my personal favorite is because when they move shallow, I mean, you go down the bank winding a trap, glide, whatever power fishing technique, and you'll run into big largemouth, but then your next cast is a 5-pound smallmouth, and it's pretty hard to beat that, big line and smallmouth. So it's they act completely different, and it's especially Finger Lakes related year round. The smallmouth, they change so much, it's incredible. Whereas largemouth, it's when you find largemouth, chances are you're going to find that largemouth in within the 100-foot vicinity throughout the year. But that smallmouth, they'll be up in 2 foot of water for a week. They'll be back out in 40 foot of water, 10 foot below the surface the next week, and then they're going to be halfway down the lake the next week, and they're kind of just like a little nomad, if you will. But it's a whole different world up in the north, especially with our brown fins too.
Right. So are they spawning like in shallow water? Because like here, we'll see like the largemouth. Like we were catching within like 10 inches and below. I mean, it was crazy this year how shallow we were catching largemouth. And but normally, like if we're on Nickajack, that the smallmouth will tend to stay like 8 feet and shallower. Is that, do they act the same up there where you're at?
I think honestly, dude, it depends on the fish. I really believe they got a personality to them, and more of if they find something that works for them, especially spawning, and they feel safe enough, they're gonna be back there the next year.
Right.
This is what I was told anyway. I can't, obviously I wasn't there, so I can't, prove it, but I was told the state record smallmouth that was broken on Cayuga a few years back was caught in the very same bed, the very same spot the following year, a pound
Really?
heavier. So I think there's something to that. They know that GPS location, because if you go back to that waypoint, it's there again the next year. I mean, that's pretty profound. But we have some fish that they'll get up dirt shallow. They'll be in inches of water on a bed. Typically, in my experience, those are your smaller fish. Those are going to be your 3 to 4 pound females. And it's very rare to see a female on a bed for longer than a day up here, smallmouth wise. The only ones that I found that stay longer are the deeper ones, and we'll have smallmouth that'll spawn out in 20 foot of water. And so that's why you see the flogger come into play on some of these clear waters. They have clear water and they got sun. They're going to go and do their business, especially those big girls. They don't want to move all the way up there. They're just like, okay, this is good enough for me. It's after Thanksgiving, they're like, okay, where's the nearest couch? That's how they are. They're like, I just want to get my business. I want to be gone. I'm going to go back to eating some gobies. And it really depends, man. I mean, you'll have times where it's, and it goes back to these fish just having a personality, and they'll change and do whatever they want. Is you'll have times where they're all up on the bank. You have a bunch of people that see them and get distracted with these 3 to 4 pound fish up on the bank, which is a great time. Don't get me wrong, but all your bigger class fish are going to be out past 8-10 foot of water spawning where those boats aren't. They're all looking at the bank, but behind them are all the big ones. And then you have times where there's a wave of big fish that'll come up, but they'll only be there for a morning. Like they'll be there for a couple hours and they'll do their business and get gone, but they'll come up dirt shallow. Usually you more see that with a largemouth, but the smallmouth will do that too. But typically they like to get up and be kind of more deeper, if you will, past that 8-10 foot range, which sometimes you see that on Great Lakes. So you're like, oh, those big ones, they're shallow, but the water's so clear you could be in 10 foot and it looks like you're in 4 foot. So it kind of,
and that's, to me, it just blows my mind that I've got some other buddies and stuff that live up in Michigan and stuff, and like they'll show do YouTube, and they'll look down and they're like, we're in like 25 foot of water and it looks like it may be 4 or 5 foot deep. And I'm like, it just blows my mind. The traveling fisherman says, what is your PB smallie?
So my personal best is 6 pounds, 15 ounces. So I caught that in September, and I really wish I would have caught that sucker in like April or November, because that would have been potentially pushing 8. But it's
how deep were you when you caught it?
45 foot of water.
Oh my! Yes. So what was it like pulling him out of 45 foot of water?
Well, so I got a lot of names for these smallmouths, especially ones that act a certain way. And this one I classify as a brownfin tuna because basically it was out in this one standing boulder. This one, it was maybe a 6 foot by 6 foot boulder out in 45 foot of water, and was using forward facing and threw a minnow at it, was hovering because I could barely see it above that boulder. Mega Live 2, and she freaking just scorched up 15 foot off the bottom and ate it, and just about pulled line. Kind of that's why I call them brownfin tunas, especially like those big old. You hear Brandon Paul, I call them boulder broncos, and there's different names for them, if you will. But yeah, I mean, she just came up and just didn't want to stop jumping, and that was in the tournament. It was our state championship, and it gave me a heart attack the whole time. But they're fun, man, especially when they're pissed off getting into the fall time. It's especially when we're talking September. It's when they're going to feed up. They're feeding on shad, and it was a wild ride. It was fun though, watching her scream up top because you knew it was coming. Freight train's coming to eat, and that's really good time.
Now there's nothing better, especially on forward facing sonar. There's nothing better to be out there throwing some whatever bait, and then just seeing that bottom just lift right up. There's nothing like it.
Makes you feel like a kid, but I got a few that have been close to it. I caught a 6'11" on Lake Ontario burning a spinnerbait in 8 foot of water, and that while it's a few ounces smaller, I think that's still my favorite one, just because
that's your kind of fish right
there. It was on the rail.
Yeah. So, do you see? Is there a lot of kayak fishermen that's up north as well?
Yeah, like our local trail here in New York will get anywhere from 50 to 75 anglers a tournament. But
do they get on that big water?
Yeah, we had a tournament 2 years ago out on Lake Ontario, and I think it had like I want to say it was 60 something anglers for that one. And you could fish in the river. I was the one of 2 psychopaths that went out in Lake Ontario in the waves. But yeah, they'll go out there. I mean, we have some big water, obviously, with Finger Lakes, Cayuga, and places like that. They're big water. So if you get a north or south wind, it's coming right down the pipe, and it gets pretty gnarly.
Yeah, because I knew that you do some kayak fishing, but I didn't know. I mean, because down here, I mean, there's a plethora of just kayakers, but I just didn't know. We have a little bit longer time here to where kayakers can kind of be comfortable out here to where y'all have 4 or 5 months of where it's just
to find comfortable. We'll still go out, but to find comfortable, we might not be comfortable most of the time, but we're out there. Got to take advantage.
So, can you was talking about some gobies, and for some of the people, can you explain like what is a goby?
Yeah, I guess a great way to describe them is if you ever seen a megabass dark sleeper, it's pretty much how they're shaped. And obviously that's what it's meant to imitate. But they came in on these freighters through the St. Lawrence River, which came from the ocean. And initially they were invasive species. They thought we were instructed as anglers to, when you catch them, you got to kill them. You're supposed to kill them, let the seagulls get them, that sort of thing. But I think they didn't realize how many exactly got into our lakes, and they're going to destroy fish populations. But I think in turn, smallmouth looked at that and they said, "Hey, we got a buffet coming to us." I think it's supercharged our fish because we just seen them. You could see it with tournament weights. It's just, and especially our state record falling year after year. Largemouth and smallmouth. We had a 12-pound largemouth caught out of Cayuga last year, and our largemouth are wreaking havoc on the gobies too, because we have fisheries in the Finger Lakes that are connected by a canal system to Lake Ontario. So these gobies are getting into there. Like I've caught largemouth this spring that are just choking up gobies. Like they're just spitting them out. So it's supercharging a fish, but there's little, anywhere from, like a little chicken nugget size to like 6 to 8 inches even. I've seen people make like,
I've never seen them that big,
swim baits for them. Like it's, but yeah, they got no sharp fins whatsoever. They're little, just essentially picture like a ping pong ball full of just muscle protein for these fish to eat. So
that is crazy. And because like we've had Benjamin on, and he was talking about it, and he was like, they will kind of, what was it, how he's saying, like they would kind of nose down into the rocks, and so all they'll see is just that little tail just kind of kicking, and they'll just come up and just suck them up. And he said, just like what you said, it was just a buffet for them. They'll just inhale and then gorge on some gobies. Now, oh shoot, I'm trying to think. What is like do y'all have, I know Benjamin was telling us that he had there's like some kind of shell or snail type deal that he has up there.
Like the zebra mussels?
Zebra mussel. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Yep.
Do y'all have that as well?
Yeah, especially on the Great Lakes. That's another thing too that people talked about that has contributed to the increase of size of our fish anyway, is because zebra mussels essentially clear up water, and smallmouth are so heavy on sight feeding that it's allowed them to see more, eat better, see longer distances. And it's, especially when you're talking about catching them, they see your baits better because of clear water. Essentially, that's the gist of it. But people are trying to say it's a bad thing. But us anglers are like, we'll take it. Clear water. we'll take it. Whatever blows these fish up.
Now, when the first time I went to Florida and actually fished, like for for bass, I've done deep sea fishing when I was a kid and stuff, but when I went for bass, and actually having a 10, 12-foot gator next to me was very unnerving. How is it for somebody that's even farther north than what I am? Were you kind of keeping an eye out on the gator, and were your nerves kind of rattled a little bit?
I guess it depends where, because a lot of my experience, especially fishing in Florida, has been wintertime when they're not usually active.
Right.
It's pretty cold. Well, cold in Florida terms anyway. But now my experience, I went head first, and we had a big tournament, the Hobie BOS Trail down at Lake Eufaula, Alabama, the gator capital of the country, it seems, because you can't hunt them there. And they sent us down in April and during mating season, so which was great because you got all of these kayaks that look like gators to the gators. So it's perfect timing for this northern boy to go down there and experience it all. But no, I don't feel too nervous. It's when you go around the corner and you got a 10+ footer that just comes crashing off the bank, and it's like you don't know what the heck. Especially a northern boy, all you see is movies. You're just like, oh god, what's happening? You see the bubbles go under your kayak. Well,
yeah, I seen a story about it was a husband and wife, and they were kayaking. I believe it was somewhere. I mean, it was in Florida. It seemed like it was in Orlando or somewhere. Anyhow, a gator had flipped the wife's kayak, and essentially, done its thing, and the husband tried to intervene, but it they couldn't.
There's no
intervene.
Yeah, there's no intervene.
So just be careful. I mean,
yeah, I've been told so. Like the more private, off the grid lakes in Florida are the ones you got to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
Like your bigger lakes, like a Harris Chain, stuff like that, they get hunted and stuff so much and so managed that they're more afraid to use for the most part. Yeah, I'm surprised. Like Eufaula, they don't have any more problems with how many damn gators are out there. But I've heard a few stories, especially more so Florida than anywhere else. Has those issues, and it's usually probably those smaller bodies of water that you're talking some of those 100-acre style or size lakes.
And that's what this looked like. It looked like it was a smaller sized lake. I don't even remember. It might have said the name of it, but I was more intrigued on the gator flipping the kayak, than anything. So it happens. It definitely happens.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, they'll charge a bass boat. It is. And so if you're only a plastic boat that can go top speed 5 miles an hour, you're pretty much screwed. You might as well just hold on.
And all it takes is just one chomp.
Yeah. So, you better be carrying. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, I was down in the Everglades fishing a canal, and there was like a 5.5, 6 foot little bluff to my left, and I was just throwing down, and it had some lily pads coming right along it, and I was throwing a whopper plopper right on the outside of these lily pads. So I was fishing for some peacocks, and next thing I know, I hear, and then it was probably about 8 foot gator, just Supermaned it off of this 5.5, 6 foot going after it was just the smallest little whopper plopper, and I guess it just made the right noise for it, and it come barreling out there like it, and so, but also had them to where they come up nosed up to the gunnel of the boat, and my buddies would always laugh. They're from Florida, so they're used to having gators around them, and I'm over here like, I'm not afraid to put holes in this boat because I'm going to shoot something. And so, but, and I mean, it's just because in a boat, we're 1.5 feet, 2 foot off the water. In a kayak, you may be 6 inches.
I mean, I put my hand down my hip and I'm touching the water. So it's like,
right. So it's not even that. So,
no separation.
And just imagine, just one little tail whip can get them up on top of the boat. I can just imagine what they would do on a kayak.
Yeah,
So.
no, I'm good. I'll be honest, I'm more afraid of the snakes down there than I am gators, just because they're quiet. Gators at least let you know that they're coming for you. You got a chance to make your peace, but snakes, it's like I had a buddy that went down that way and fished. I mean, thank gosh it didn't do anything, but he launched, fished for 6 hours, came back, put it on his kayak trailer and everything, and had a snake coiled up under his seat. That
really,
that is nightmare fuel for me. Like I won't.
Oh yeah.
Heck no. Like
I'd have sold the kayak right then. I've been done.
He gave up.
Bailey, there would not have been selling his wife would have been selling the kayak because we would have been putting him 6 feet in the dirt.
Yeah, it's his kayak now. I don't own it anymore.
Done.
But I mean, I've seen them to where like they've wrapped around like the motor and or even like the jack plate where they just kind of just sit there on the jack plate.
Yeah, no thanks.
So now I want to talk about some baits. How often, because I think this is one of the most, especially in the South, it does not get used hardly enough. I know it's more used up north. How often do you use a tube?
For smallmouth, it just depends. It's kind of situational for me. I kind of pull it out more when they're being a little bit trickier and they're specifically like on bottom.
Right.
I honestly pull out the tube more for largemouth than anything else, especially flipping a tube. Well, I say tube, it's kind of cheating. It's a craw tube, so I guess you kind of not technically a tube, but in the way you think of it, like on a jig head, it actually makes for a pretty good offshore bait. But I mean, it just comes down the line of like if they're going to be tricky or not. Just because you can tend to lose fish pretty easy on a tube. So it's like if they're not eating the football jig, I'll try it, but I know that they're bottom oriented. They're eating gobies or crawdads, things like that. I'll always have one with me, especially on the Great Lakes. But there's some people that make hay on it, but it's just like it definitely gets used a lot. It's just not one of my go-tos. But there's some guys. There's some guys down your guys' way that are very, very sneaky on the Elite Series, especially with a tube, man. They don't talk about it. They're throwing, especially like ledge baits, man. Oh yeah.
I know. I've got a buddy of mine that Josh Antoine, and he owns Chattahoochee Fishing Charter, and he fishes nickajack primarily. And he will pull out the tube. He's from Michigan, and he will pull out the tube on a rare occasion, especially if he knows that somebody's not going to pay too much attention to what he's throwing. So, but he'll pull it out, and he does good. And I tell him all the time, like down here, it is. I think we could definitely catch more fish and utilize it more than what we really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in that traditional sense of rigging it, like not talking about like a flipping tube or things like that, that's gotten a lot of buzz this year anyway. I was out west for the BAM tour, their Super 60 that they started out west, and I was covering that event on Don Pedro, and I'll let loose a cool nugget for you guys on this show is the winner of that event, Greg Gutierrez. All these guys are scoping and they're using minnows and stuff like that. And I watched it firsthand on these guys' screens, like watching these fish chase, come all the way up, fired. And you guys know the feeling. It's like they got a stop sign on your bait because they halt and they leave.
Yeah.
Well, Greg Gutierrez was hovering a white tube and getting all of them to eat, which is a pretty sneak. As soon as I went home, I ordered white tubes, and I have been trying it since then, and it works. But it's at least my sample group of fish is a little bit easier to get the trick. But it was a pretty cool deal watching somebody hover a tube, and you can see like everyone knows how a tube kind of spirals down. Watching that thing kind of hover and dance, it's a little sneaky deal. Yeah.
That we actually had angler Marty Lawrence that fishes the Super 60 or the BAM, and he was talking about it, And I think that is a very good tournament because you really don't, being on the East Coast, we don't really hear anything about the West Coast anglers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is something good and that they have out there that I think is going to be a pretty good little tournament series for them.
Yeah, they made a pretty big deal out of it on Don Pedro, and with the stage and the spectacle they're making, and obviously, BAM, Bass Angler Magazine already being a media outlet. And it's awesome the support they're putting behind it. Like they're flying us out to the events, and Adam Deacon, who's co-host at Serious Anglers, he's one of the pro anglers fishing it. And it's cool to kind of see, they're filling the gap that the West Coast needs out there.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see some of the buzz it's getting and kind of some of the anglers that we're helping show some light on. But those guys are, I couldn't tell you how much I learned just from being a follow boat with some of those guys, because they got a whole different arsenal over there, man, of things that they're using. So
now, do you throw a glide bait much?
Oh yeah, big time. I'll preface that saying I throw it a lot. I don't catch a lot. I'm still in the training phase, if you will, and just from situational stuff, like trying to see where it'll work, where it won't. Especially fun fishing, I pull it out all the time. I think it's the goat of, if you're practicing and you want to see fish, that is the goat of being able to pull big fish out of their hiding place and see where they're at. But Alex and I have a video we're going to be dropping on our channels. When he came up here, we probably had a 40 fish, 4-hour afternoon, probably 26 pounds all on a glide bait. And it was, it's an easier training ground up here, but yeah, I use it a lot. It's a fun one, man. Cause it's more, I don't even know how you describe it, but it's like almost like animalistic throwing that big bait and watching them come unglued on that. It's a little bit different than shaking a minnow at them or something like that.
It is. And I think, because the first time that I ever threw one, I was actually in the boat with Caleb, and he was throwing. We were on Nickajack, just right below the dam. We were fishing the little the wing walls and stuff of the dam. And he was just throwing it, and it was amazing being able to see like the bass just come up out of nowhere and just track it. And I don't know. Earlier we was talking about how he's a fish whisperer, but he's got some eagle eyes as well. To be able to see in water, because I'm watching his bait and he was like, I got one coming. And all I see is like greenish brown water, and I don't see anything around. And next thing I know, he just pauses it. And it's all with he does it all with the reel. He does not do any kind of twitching with the rod. It's all his reel. And then next thing you know, you just see, whoa, just come up and just inhale it. I'm like, God. And after seeing that a couple times, and having to put a whooping on you with it, I'm like, I just went and grabbed one out of his boat, and I says, "This one's mine." What has been, with all the traveling and stuff that you've done, what has been your favorite fish to target?
I think for the fact that I have a pretty healthy population of both smallmouth and largemouth up here, that I've really enjoyed chasing big spots. I think I like the feeling of when you go to a brand new fishery and just that open-mindedness and excitement because everything's brand new. I think that's why I find it so exciting when I get a chance to go chase some big spotted bass. Right. I think right now it's number one for me anyways, but I always say that until I go and chase largemouth or smallmouth, and then it's like picking, when somebody asks you what's your favorite way to catch them, the best way for me to describe it is whatever they're eating, because it's just, it always switches places, But I'd say big spots, I think, just because it's a whole new world for me, especially in the learning processes of how they operate. And I had to make a pit stop before I came to Tennessee and saw you guys and fish Lake Lanier and give that a whirl.
I was about to ask, did you fish Lanier?
I did. It was I didn't even have to leave the ramp. I already caught a 3-pounder off of it, so it was like it's a fun time, especially they come unglued on it, and I fish places like Lake Norman and stuff that have healthy populations, and it's I have to say spot right now. Spot's number
Now,
one.
do y'all have a lot of spots up there?
We got none. I think the most north you can catch a spot, I want to say it's West Virginia, or maybe no. Maybe that's wrong. I think Ohio River, and that might be the most north you can catch a spot.
Yeah.
Hopefully they never come up this way, especially Alabama.
No, you don't want them.
Oh, yeah.
No,
So,
don't get Alex Road on that topic either. He'll go on for an hour about home.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole that will not end.
Yeah, he's right. He has every reason to be. But yeah, we don't want him up here.
Yeah. Now, when you was on Lanier, did you happen to throw a Berkeley Credge?
Credge, no. I threw a shaky head, a minnow, a glide, a football jig. I think that's about it because that's all I really needed. And I got more distracted with big stripers than I did spots.
Right. Yeah, because I learned from Alex. He went on Lanier, and I'm trying to think. He was with somebody that fishes Lanier all the time.
Yep.
And they were taking that Berkeley Credge, like they were waiting for them to kind of school up on the blue herring. And once they started seeing them explode, they were throwing that Berkeley Credge and they were working it. I mean, they were burning it back. I have never seen anybody work the Credge that way. And I talked to Alex after that, and he said, man, that's the way to work it. And especially if you have any kind of schooling fish, he said that is the way to catch a lot of them. I mean, they were raking in some monster spots. I could not believe it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head. And I feel ashamed that I can't remember because I've actually talked to him on several occasions. But he fished the Classic this past year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's I think he's sitting well too in the opens. But yeah, I mean it's a pretty popular bite down there, and it's more so starting. I want to say around now, if or not earlier May, it might have started, but definitely a summer bite. And now you got 3 different sizes of the Credge. I think there's launched 2 new ones too. But yeah, it's that was one thing Rod was telling me when he was up here. He's like, we got to get you down for that bite, dude. You got to try it.
Yeah, if you want to catch some nice spots. Lanier and Altoona has some pretty decent ones as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm Northern California was a fun freaking place to go catch some spotted bass. I'll say that.
Really? I didn't know they had them out there.
Oh, I mean that's where a lot of the world records have been broken. Is out in California.
Really? I knew that. What was it? Was it on like Clear Lake or the Delta? It was. Or the Delta?
No, the Delta doesn't have any spots in it. But I think I want to say it's like Bullard's Bar was one of the lakes that had them. That's where like Cody Meyer and those guys were breaking world record spots at because they're like 10, 11 pounders. With freak show spots. But yeah, there's a few lakes out there that are just incredible. Ones that are on my bucket list, and I'm going out there. I think I'm looking at my calendar like 3 more times that I got. Like Barry S is on the bucket list, things like that. But there are magnum spots out on the West Coast. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. So I know with Alex and stuff, like he's posted some videos, and this is an older video of some crazy stuff that's happened to him while out on a kayak. I know he had one video here, a year and a half, 2 years ago, where he had a dude at the boat ramp that he was putting back in that was on something or drunk or whatever. He was out of his mind. But and it was cold, and the dude was butt naked, and then he decided he was going to go jump in the water after telling Alex that he was going to shoot him. But what is the craziest thing that you have had happen to you out on the water?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. I mean, beyond just the occasional carrying on the on the bank or on a boat dock or something like that. I'm trying to think of something. I mean, I had a pretty crazy interaction this past weekend. Actually, a week and a half ago, with somebody on the bank. Because I can't really think of anything else that's been crazier than just people being turds. But I had a guy on the bank that there's a little creek. I was going down in the kayak from the lake fishing a tournament. I had Buddy on the left side. I was on the right side, like within casting distance of each other. These guys pulled up and wanted to go fish the bank, and they decided to go cast 10, basically stand 10 feet in front of my buddy, whose kayak was like, he could touch his rod on the bank type of deal, and just start casting. No saying hello or nothing. And some words were exchanged, but they basically started yelling at us for cutting them off. But it's a whole deal that we'll on YouTube anyways, just to like to highlight stupidity as learning lessons. But nothing like, I guess, too crazy. Oh, I seen a boat blow up on Oneida Lake before. I should say that.
Really?
Yeah, that wasn't good, but that's about it. That's about all I see. Crazy, man. Some pretty cool stuff like gators and all that thing, but nothing like that. And hopefully it stays that way. I know it's not great for the whole YouTube thing, but I'm just gonna hold back. Pretty.
I mean, if you're ever back down this way, we can make something happen for you if you want to get some YouTube views and clicks. So we can make something happen.
No, I ain't one of those guys that fakes anything for the views. If it comes to me, I'll see what I can do, but I don't chase the whole clickbait game. But I want my views to come from the fishing and teaching something, and I don't. If the only eventful part of my day is fish catching, then that's good by me. I don't need anything too crazy. Yeah. That's why I don't fish docks too much, anyways, dude. Just because I hate dealing with the random Karen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, see, that stuff with people. And it's funny that you say that, and I don't know, and it might just be because, I mean, I grew up in Nashville, and then we moved to Chattanooga. I think I'm maybe in 42 years that I may have had maybe 8 to 10 people come up that was Karens about docks. And I see all these people with videos and stuff about it, and I'm like, I have no clue. I mean, it's just crazy to me just to even think that they even come out like that. And
we got a lot of them here up in the north, unfortunately, because we got some lakes that are, I guess, best way to describe it is like a lot of rich folk, and rightfully so. They care about their stuff, and they don't want you getting close to their stuff. But it's like, when the fish are up there, man, I'm going to fish where the fish are at, and I'm everywhere within my right to do so. And usually if they're out on their property, I just avoid those. I just go right around, just don't even bother with it. I know there's some folks that like to steer into those altercations.
Yeah, to see if they can get something going.
The craziest one, I think, actually, now thinking about it, was this was like probably 4 or 5 years ago. We got a gentleman that fishes our kayak trail with us, and he's Asian. And essentially, he was going down this bank, and this guy came out yelling at him for fishing his dock and just being super racist. And chatter got around of what was happening. So about 15 of us all went and fished his dock at the same time for a good 45 minutes. And that was probably the craziest one. But usually people, it's uneducation, or if it's just simply they're probably having it, the way my dad had taught me was like, chances are if somebody has the nerve to come out to you and yell at you for no reason for fishing, chances are they're having a much worse day than you are. So just say hello, have a good day, and move on. It's hard not to say more,
and the thing is, and I'm surprised, especially with the people that I have in my boat, because we have peppered some docks before, just trying to get up underneath them. I mean, if they're sitting on the back deck and it just sounds like gunshots are going off, pow!
I like to call it ringing the dinner bell. Is what I like to call it.
There you go. So he's done a lot of ringing the dinner bell. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. So I know you got to get off here pretty short. Can you tell everybody how they can get if they're wanting to follow you, where they can start following you at if they're not already?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. If you want to listen to the Serious Angler podcast, obviously you guys have a great podcast here at Deck Talk. If you're looking for any more additional like misinformation that we spew, this is all great information from these guys. We're all the people that don't know how to fish. So if you want to hear that in Serious Angler,
we're in the same boat. That's why we have people like you come on to make us look good. No, I'm just joking. But no, we do this podcast just so, I wanted to start a podcast just so I can get more information for myself. It was kind of a greedy thing because I enjoy talking to people. And if I could have somebody come on and I can pick their brains for a little bit, then the better off I am, because there's going to be situations that I can be like, I can remember Bailey was telling me about, let's try this. And that was the reason why I kind of started it. But then I wanted to do the live because not a lot of people have the opportunities to talk. We have a guest every week, and like they don't have the opportunity to be able to even talk to you, because they may be down here and you're up north, and or even like an Ike and Ellie who we have coming on here in a couple weeks, and we have more opportunities with doing YouTube and then doing the podcast and stuff, and we go do events and stuff for Bass and the MLF, and we go to the Classic and ICAST and Red Crest, and we get to talk, and we're buddies with all these guys. So, and it's more or less, it's now gotten to where bring on my friends and let's just talk about some fishing and go down some rabbit holes. And so, and that's kind of like how it is with your podcast, like, because y'all go down some rabbit holes too. So
yeah, that's for dang sure. And I think that's part of podcasting nowadays. I think if you have a regimented timeline podcast, I don't want any part of it. It's just, you got to make time for some shenanigans, man. You got to have fun with it. But yeah, it's same deal over here. And I appreciate y'all for the invitation. If people want to listen to Serious Angler podcast, it's wherever you find Deck Talk, you'll find us. And then, you can find me on social media or YouTube, Be the Fish. It's my personal stuff where I do all my kayak fishing, and DMs are always open if anybody wants to chat.
Yeah, and I've got his links and stuff in the description, so I made it easy for you. All you gotta do is just click those links and go and subscribe and follow him. Because again, he does a lot, especially on his personal YouTube, that he does a lot of teaching. The podcast stuff, like he's had some killer guests come on. Like I said earlier, he had a biologist come on, and which was funny. We were just talking about
this morning
who we were wanting to, like how we can get other people and stuff, because we're wanting to kind of go bigger than just bass fishing.
Yep.
So we've had crappie guys, we've had catfish. We're wanting to have some like deep sea fishing and saltwater guys and stuff. So we were even talking about having a biologist come and talk, and because I want to talk to you. I'll send you a message here later about how to maybe get the same person or something like that, how to get in contact with one.
Get you guys Stephen Barden, who runs the MLF Fisheries Management Division over there, but also does a lot of private fisheries, assists with a lot of state agencies down in Texas, big on bass, big on crappie, multi-species guy. Happy to connect to you guys. You should definitely have him on. He's a good dude. He's awesome. Shared many beers with that guy. Just as much as he's a nerd, he can talk the talk with Bassin too. And it's a cool deal that we started this year. Every 2 weeks, so bi-weekly, he comes on. We have a new segment on Serious Angler called The Real Biology. So every 2 weeks, he's on our show. We're having a new somebody from a state agency on, or professional that's within the whole fisheries biology space. Because we need a lot more education in our sport for the anglers, because there's a big disconnect between state agencies and anglers and hunters and things of that nature. So it's trying to mend that, if you will. So I'd be happy to get you guys in touch. And he's a whole Rolodex about any state, anywhere you want a specialist for a lake, whatever it may be, he's your guy to go to.
Heck yeah. So I know you got things you got to get. Let's see that you got to do. Traveling fisherman says walking the banks with the gators all around took me some time to get used to.
You can keep that. I think I'm fast.
So and if you don't know, we're actually here in I think 3 weeks. We're actually having the traveling fisherman on the podcast because he's actually on his way from Florida to Alaska. His wife is a traveling nurse, and so they're on their way. Go check out his social media as well, because as they're going through from Florida to Alaska, they're stopping and he's doing some videoing and lives and stuff, fishing all over the United States. I think he's actually in Canada right now, if I remember correctly. But Bailey, man, thank you for coming on, and we'll get you back on here sometime soon, and we'll pick your brains. Are you going to ICAST?
I might be flying down for a day potentially, but I can let you boys know. But I think so.
Yep, sounds good, brother. Well, guys, thank you for coming on, and we couldn't do this without you. And again, go check out the Serious Angler podcast. It is a phenomenal podcast. I listen to it while I'm driving down the road. If you want some serious talking, they do some serious talking, but they do go down some rabbit holes, so it makes for a fun podcast. And go watch it, enjoy it, and tell Bailey that you've seen him here on Deck Talk Podcast. And with that being said, we're going to get out here. The fat boy is hungry, and it is time to eat. And Bailey, thank you so much again, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're going to get out of here. We will see you here on the water, and have a blessed day.